Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another Rams up. Quick reaction video. Disappointing loss, man. The tables have turned since last week, huh? Man, we signed on and we were so jubilant. Not so much this week, man. What a disappointing loss. How you feeling about it, Ian?
Look, I'll hold myself accountable. I chose the Rams to lose this game when me and Paul assembled on the last roundtable this past week on Wednesday. I just had a bad feeling going to this game. The Rams had not won a game out there since 2003. And everybody, you know who was on that team? Freaking Mark Bulger, Torrey Holt, and Marshall Faulk were still the main guys on that team. The last time the Rams had won in Chicago. I mean, just absolutely brutal losing streak out there. So that tied into a Bears team who we talked about, Paul, was getting shredded by the national media, their own media. People's jobs are being in question, right? A former Ram, Shane Waldron, who's the coordinator there, their head coach, Eberflus, everybody. O-line's terrible. Swift was a terrible signing. I mean, they were just under the most mass scrutiny you could possibly be. And I just said, that team is going to hear it. That coaching staff is going to feel it. And they're going to come out fighting as hard as they can to get a W. And I thought that, in combination with us riding the high, the players and the coaching staff, of beating our arch rivals at home in a must-win game then, I thought this is typical NFL letdown game for a team in those two different lanes. Team trying to win, team coming off a great win, and then lowering back down to earth. So I chose the Rams to lose, and it's just unfortunate that those scenarios seem to just come true. And I didn't want to be right or anything. I want the Rams to win. I'm rooting for them to win, but I just had a bad feeling that was going to be the case. And what do you know, gentlemen, Rams Nation? We got the Sean McVay special today. Throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, and we lost. What a shock. Sucks.
Yeah, I saw those. I considered the same things you considered, that the Rams might have a letdown game, and I was in complete denial. I just did not. I started to think about it. No, it's not going to happen to this team. It can't happen after such a big win. We're going to go on a roll. How do you feel about it, Paul? What are your first thoughts on this game?
It was a tough game to watch after the first quarter. So, like I texted the team. I said three keys for the Rams today. Number one, quick start, get out of the gate, solid first quarter. So they were not great in the red zone. 2 trips, 6-0. You could live with that. Get Aaron Kyren 25 touches. My count, I think he got 23. Dominate the Bears O-line and make their make their offense one-dimensional. They did not do that at all.
Oh no.
So I mean, honestly, they started out well. And then they got away from the running game. Once again, they got away from their running game, and that really put them behind the 8 ball. And that sweat sack that led to the fumble was just absolutely momentum shift. And the Rams never really were able to recapture the momentum, and that really was the story of the game. It was an odd call when you're at your 15, but then to have Parkinson blocking Sweat and Whittington came over late to help. Just an odd call all around to go with that type of play. When you're backed up, you have the lead. They were controlling the game pretty significantly by that point, and they could have just run the ball and probably could have turned down a couple of first downs. And you take your shots when you get better field position. But there was a lot not to like in this game. It was a game that was definitely winnable. That was just, I hate to say, it was just given away. It really was.
Yeah. I mean, Paul, we were talking off camera, and Mark, you were sharing this stat. How many times were they in 12 personnel today? It's less than 5. What was the number?
My count, I have to go back, but informally, I have it at 2. I had two sets.
I remember seeing Hunter Long run off the field once after one play. That's the only time I noticed him.
That was it.
Yeah, it was less than 5, and we'll be a little generous. It was less than 10, which is unacceptable in its own grouping. You can even run 12 personnel more than 10 times, not even 5 times based on our count here on Rams Up. Absolutely abysmal by Sean McVay. The winning formula was there, and we talked about it many and many times here, everybody. Run the ball, have multiple formations, 11 personnel only, and Stafford having to drop back is not winning football with multiple backups at receiver and the O-line. And what happened? We lost. And that's just offense. We'll get into defense shortly, but you got to help out a defense who's trying to get a groove, or if you want to call it that, and set your team up for success. And Matthew Stafford hero ball with backups everywhere on offense is not the formula to do it. And shocker, we get this result where it's field goal, and turnover. And it's just, It's like Sean McVay's a smart guy, but sometimes I don't know what he thinks is going on. But I mean, I think the stat right here that I'm going to pull up is, I think it's pretty telling of the red zone play calling, which I know we've had an issue throughout McVay's career. Shout out to, Sarah Barshop here from ESPN Stats and Info. This season, Matthew Stafford is 0 of 7 with an interception on top of it on passes thrown to the end zone through 4 weeks of the season. It's the longest stretch of his career in a 4-game span, in which he has failed to complete a pass thrown to the end zone. It ain't working. We got too many backup players on offense for that to be the formula to score points. Run the dang ball. It's just ridiculous. And it's not a shock that we're talking about a loss because of that. But
the obvious question for a layman such as myself is there something about the Bears defense as opposed to the 49ers defense that would compel McVay to go back to 11 personnel? Well, there has to be. Can we make any sense of it, or do we need to go back and look at the film? To me, it's just really surprising. I thought, or is it because I thought it was interesting they didn't activate Kalanick again, so they only had the 3 tight ends. Davis Allen, was questionable. Maybe Davis Allen wasn't really ready to go, and they were stuck, between a rock and a hard spot with only 2 tight ends. But even then, roll with the 12 personnel. And if one of you guys goes down, then you adjust. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me either.
I think there's an element, though, that I think needs to really, really be highlighted here, is that when you have all these injuries to the wide receivers, it has nothing to do with the talent level. We are very fortunate that wide receiver room is this deep. And I'll comment on Tyler Johnson in a second. So the issue is, if you think about it, practice time. All preseason, who's getting the WR1, 2, 3 spots, right? So apart from Demarcus Robinson, it's not that these players aren't talented. It takes time. You're talking at the NFL level. It takes time to build that relationship, that rapport, like Staff has with the other players, that he knows where they're going to be at any given moment. He doesn't even have to see them. He does the no looks, all that crazy stuff that he does, which is absolutely amazing. And I think people don't realize it still takes a lot of time to develop that. You cannot expect guys like Tutu Atwell. We have Xavier Smith was out there a little bit today, and you have Jay Witt out there. So yeah, they're going to be able to run routes. They're going to be able to do. It's still not going to have that crispness. It's still going to not going to have that automaticity that you have with the other primetime starters. So it's not a knock against the wide receiver crew. It's just the reality of it's going to take time. You're talking about game 4 of the season, and you're running your offense like you're running it with your top-notch crew. I think that is a major and glaring. It is not realistic. You are putting these guys in a very unfavorable position. So I think that's number one. If he wants to stay in 11, that's fine. But there's no excuse not to run the ball, because that's another factor of why you should run the ball more. The other thing is Tyler Johnson. I had commented 2 weeks ago that twice he had stopped on routes, right? Last week against the Niners, twice he caught. It was a 3rd down situation. The Rams needed something like 10. One was 10 yards, one was 12 yards. He didn't catch the ball just turn and go. He stopped, looked around, and got tackled twice short. Once Stafford ran over to him and sort of highlighted that. Tyler Johnson, when the game started, the first thing I texted to myself, I always have my notes there, is that Jay Witt's getting all the snaps. Where's Tyler Johnson? So I thought I missed something on the injury report. I went back and I looked. He came back out. I think it was the second quarter. Stafford got rocked again. He stopped on a route again. They pulled him out. I don't remember him getting back in the game.
Yeah.
So Tyler Johnson must seriously be in the doghouse right now because I don't remember him being in the second half. So that's a major hit to their wide receiver room. And that could be why, X-Man was out there so much in the second half of the game. So and the reason I'm bringing that up is there are now a couple of players on offense that are really not getting it done. So Parkinson played great. Once again, his yards per reception is 8.4. So first of all, he's getting TE1 money. He's getting tight end 1 money. He is not showing the physicality, the yardage after catch. He's getting tackled. So they're very lucky that that defensive back stepped out of bounds on that pick. But the way he got forced out of bounds by a defensive back that is 50 pounds lighter than him, that's unacceptable. That's just totally unacceptable. He's just not playing at a very high level. I mean, his numbers might look okay, but that's not what he's getting paid for. He's getting big time money, and staff is looking for him, and he's just not coming up big. He gets tackled way too easily, and the physicality is not there. And I know he's learning the role, but at this point, it's game 4 of the season, and he's been out there enough now at this point. He's really, really got to step it up. He is not physical enough to be the starting tight end. So that's something they really need to close the door and have a talk with him about, because there's twice he got tackled in a one-on-one situation by a defensive back. He's 260 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big human, man.
What is going on? So I think the Tyler Johnson situation and this situation with him, I think, is a pervasive situation now that when I say this is like, what is the identity of this team? They are not a physical ball club on both sides of the ball. They are not. This is very dangerous. That if we see it, NFL teams are seeing it, and every NFL team is running the rock in the second half, and they are getting chunks of yardage. So this is not just something that's going to go away, and teams are not going to go away from that.
Real quick, speaking of just free agent stuff, let's just be honest about all of them. The whole free agent class as a whole has just been one giant failure, and that's why we are where we are. Let's just be real. Darius Williams has been hurt, been a failure. Tre'Davious White, he has just been up and down. It's been a failure. You just highlighted Colby Parkinson. It's not good enough. It's been a failure. Jonah Jackson has been hurt literally his entire time being around, other than a game and some change. It's been a failure. And obviously those are the main guys. John Johnson returning, he's been hurt. Failure. Lark Jackson getting suspended, costing us games with him not being out there. Him returning, restricted free agent, been a failure. And there's probably other people I'm forgetting about, but those are all starting level players that, we didn't pay insane money to other than Jonah. It's been a failure. Shout out to Kevin Dodson for working out, but 1 out of 7 of starting level players not performing to standards, whether it be an injury or whatever else, not good. And here we are, everybody, at this 1-4 start. But we'll get into defense, and that's its own separate entity outside of McVay's whack play calling.
How do we feel about Cameron Curl? Is he jury still out on that one?
I couldn't think of him right now. I was blanking on his name. Same thing. It hasn't been good enough. There's been too many times where he just looks slow, but might as well just get into the defensive subject, right, gentlemen? I mean, defense is, it just keeps happening. The defense is, it's just concerning. It continues week by week by week. And, Mark, Paul, Rams Nation, it's this quarters coverage scheme that, we have been trying to just force offenses, to just, bend their will to what we want to do. No. We're bending to their will. It's not working. This quarter, half, this all quarters, this combo coverage that we do, it ain't working. Things have to change desperately, because I get it. You want to be able to cover every area of the field if you're so worried, but we have to just convert into a cover 3 team primarily, or a cover 2 with everyone else underneath, because it just seems like in this cover 6 combo or cover 6 by itself or cover 4, any of these quarter coverages, we have multiple people covering deep. There's just someone wide open all the time. So people are just not functioning well in the secondary. And then let's not even forget about the pass rush continuing to just not bring down the quarterback, whether it be Verse, Byron, Braden, Kobe. It's just not good enough all around and not good. We have to be the worst defense. I'm calling it. I don't know what the stats are. I don't know how other teams, I know there's other teams getting waxed, but the amount of just big plays and just how sloppy some things look is just not good. And of course, the Bears team, who had a whatever O-line, bottom feeder O-line, couldn't run the ball to save their lives, couldn't pass protect to save their lives. Their best game of the season is against the Rams defense. I don't think that's coincidence anymore. Rams defense is just flat out bad, and that's concerning.
Yeah, the O-line was definitely there for the taking. They made the O-line for the Bears look phenomenal today. They really didn't exploit any one of their players. I think it's interesting, though. There are 3 things that stood out to me today about this defense, which is really, really puzzling, which I don't understand, honestly. I think part of the issue is, as outside observers, we really don't know what the philosophy was at the start of the season, what was like the core principles that were sort of pounded home to this defense. So the first thing is that jumps right out at me is the defensive linemen do not use their hands to disengage from blockers. So I'll give you a great example. Fist Factor, Verse, today, Hollywood Hoyt did the same thing. Great job on the bull rush, drove the guy backwards, but then they don't disengage from the blocker. So the blocker's between themselves and the quarterback. They're 6 inches from the quarterback. Go back and watch the plays. They're literally right there, and they're reaching over I've never seen this before. They are reaching over the O-lineman to get to the quarterback. There's no rip. There's nothing. You have to be extremely violent with your hands to get blockers off of you at the NFL level. It's that simple. Watch Aaron Donald play. That's all he practiced. That's why nobody could block him, because the minute that he felt their hands on him, their hands were off and he was gone. This is a fundamental. There is a fundamental coaching error here, whatever that is, because it's every lineman, right? The other thing is Coleman Shelton was having a horrific season. And the guard that was playing on his left side, I think, was a new starter. I think a player got injured early. I would have put Kobe Turner, I would put the conductor right there and said, go blow up that gap on every play. And then every other play, I would have just blitzed somebody in the other one. And here's what I think is best. They only ran it. I got to go back and watch it, but twice it actually looked good. There were 2 plays where they had Hoyt, Bars, and they had BY on the field at the same time with 2 linemen. And they played a very aggressive. They went with 5, and that's it. When they are playing their cover 1, they are getting toasted. They are playing a very loose man. And I watched that play to DJ Moore again. They were playing a very loose man on that side, and they still got toasted. So there is something very wrong because that's a very short field. You're playing it in the red zone. And people are not even getting, they're not even getting bumped at the line.
Paul, real quick on that, how are we getting out schemed where DJ Moore, their best receiver, is on a linebacker, inside linebacker? Like there's just really, really bad schematics going on, I believe, in game preparation, and it's just lack of execution. You can always say, oh, if the players are executing, it'll work. Sure, but you got to custom tailor what you want to do to the guys that you have. And we're just a bad defense. I think that's just really
there's no play recognition. There's no play recognition at all. If you go back onto the run defense, Reeder and Roseboom, they're linebackers. You have to read your keys and go at the NFL level. You cannot. They're 4 yards off the ball. The ball is snapped. They're still 4 yards off the ball. Yeah, they're literally standing there waiting. So when they make contact with the running back, right? And Ian played running back. That's already 4 yards you gave the running back.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, and the entire D line is slow off the ball. So the ball is snapped. If you pause it, you will see all the Ram helmets are like literally on the LOS. They are not across the LOS.
Yeah.
So there's something very wrong. Either they're very tentative, they're confused. Definitely the linebacker situation is glaring. When you watch it, apart from maybe one or two plays in the San Francisco game where Reader, read the key and shot the gap, they are not. They are 4 or 5 yards off the ball, and they are standing there waiting. Whether that's by design, I have no idea. But that is why they're getting gashed. They're giving up, according to these stats, they haven't even been updated yet. They're giving up over 120 yards a game rushing.
Terrible.
That's horrendous. They're not going to win many games like that. So
terrible.
Defensively, it's just a complete catastrophe at this point.
And real quick, let me share this real quick. I mean, isn't it time to really consider what the Shula hiring and just how bad it is? And also how bad of a job Aubrey Pleasant's doing, how bad of a job every secondary coach, assistant, Giff Smith, the new D-line coach, linebacker coach, I'm blanking on his name. I'm just trying to think about the top of my head here. Regardless, it's just Greg Williams, inside linebacker coach. It's just a poor job from everybody. And let's just be honest about it. Chris Shula has never called defense, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. I get that. But it's about getting the guys ready to go and understand the assignment and executing the best as possible and putting them in a situation to succeed. I'm not seeing it. And then let's just be real about Aubrey Pleasant for a second. And this was brought to my attention by some Rams buddies of mine who had, we were texting throughout the game a little bit when I had some moments to respond. And they were like, hey, remember when Aubrey Pleasant got fired because he was doing such a bad job with the Detroit Lions? That's how we ended up back with us in the secondary. Well, I know last year there was a lot of up and down moments and there was more better play than bad. But here we are where it's just a complete mess. And is it shocking that a coach being fired for doing a bad job with his secondary being burnt all the time, now coming back into the same thing seems to be happening? I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence, and that's unfortunate. And then obviously losing Coach Henney to USC, I mean, that was going to be a drop-off. But Giff Smith, I mean, it's like, yo, man, we got to get these guys ready to go. Greg Williams, you got to get these guys ready to go, the inside linebackers. Shula, put them in a better position. I mean, this defense is just flat out bad, and it starts with coaching at the end of the day. It starts with them, and it trickles down to the players. So the team effort, but geez Louise, man. I mean, it's time. It's time. I don't know what the stats are going to be after 4 weeks. I'm sure in the next couple of days there'll be more analytics, but this Rams defense has to be off one of the worst starts in team history. It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back on the roundtable and address where the hope lies for this defense. Where if it can turn the corner, getting D-Will back, some of the youngsters getting a little bit more experience, because I know, Tyler Davis was out there a lot. Maybe he's going to improve. Cam Kinchins, I think he has some, let's say, some errors in his game. Maybe he'll improve. And maybe they need to get some of those undrafted free agents in the rotation more. I don't know. I feel like our young edge guys are good. They're just not closing the deal. And hopefully the one thing we can hope for is they're just going to have a game where they just bust through and finally start putting the quarterback on the ground a lot. I mean, we did have 3 sacks and we lost 2 due to penalty. So we're getting close, but and then they have to be impactful plays. We cause a fumble, Bears recover. We fumble, Bears recover. So, just not take. I think, Paul, before we started, what are the takeaway stats for this Rams team so far this year?
3 all year.
3, yeah.
I mean, that's less than 1 a game. That's fewer than 1. And you can't win. If you're only generating 1 interception in 4 games, that's really telling you that your pass coverage is a real liability. 1 interception in 4 games. So if you take a look at, and I love Caleb. Caleb is a beast. There's no question about it. His passer rating was 108 today. Okay. The guy's played, counting this, 4 games in the NFL, right? He was his passer rating was a 50, a 55, and an 80 coming into this game. All right. And he ran the RPO on verse to perfection twice today. That was pretty cool. But, having said that, they made him look like, this is the issue. There's a pattern in every game, right? We saw that in Detroit. The wide receiver goes off. Go into Arizona. Connor, another wide receiver goes off. Jawan Jennings last week, another wide receiver goes off. And here, what did we all say? Just shut down the running game and make Caleb beat you. The exact opposite happened today. DeAndre Swift has done nothing. The Bears were averaging 2.7 yards a carry with DeAndre Swift in the game prior to today. He goes off for a combined, what was it, almost 140, a little bit more than 140.
Terrible.
I mean, there's a pattern here. It's like, number one, that they're not understanding. Like, there has to be a focal point of your defense. Stop this player or whatever it is, their primary player. The Rams have not been able to do that. That's what I'm saying. There is a lot. It appears to me, right, as the outside observer, there seems to be a great deal of confusion on this defense, right? And the irony is, right, and we all read this in the beginning, right? I think, Ian, you had texted it to me that one of the players had said that Shula simplified the defense so the Rams could play faster. Does it look like they're playing faster? They're definitely not playing faster.
John Johnson said that, by the way, preseason, training camp time. So it ain't working. It's a disaster. It's been bad.
Terrible.
The front end, if they were able to get the quarterback down, a lot of the back end issues, you work in unison. Front end and back end. Warren Sapp always mentions that. He's like, the front end and the back end play off each other, and it's all interconnected and tied together. Quarterbacks just have all the time in the world, and they escape and they can create plays. And we've had the unlucky draw of Kyler, Brock Purdy, and Caleb, who are all very, very mobile, but that's no excuse. Most quarterbacks in this league are very mobile now. Stafford's part of the old guard where he's just pocket passer only, which is obviously unique and he's awesome at it, but it's not going to stop. We're going to play Gardner soon. He's mobile. Jordan Love can run around a ton. We play, Josh Allen later down the road. Aaron Rodgers looks like he can still move around. We play tons. We haven't even gotten to Geno Smith yet. We haven't even, we still got another game of Kyler and Brock Purdy. So it's not going to end. And if that doesn't get fixed, I mean, forget it. We got major issues, and that bye week can't come any faster to reevaluate and replan how the plan of attack for both sides of the ball. But defensive, obviously,
One thing I will say, Q played a great game. Quentin Lake is just a rising star. He played a great game today. With all the chaos around him, he came up big. That stop where he came off the wide receiver Dunze was trying to block him, and then he stopped him for whoever was on that catch from getting the first down. That was just a great play. That just shows you this kid is a rising star. Played an absolutely phenomenal game. And and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of in the pass rush. There's a lot of potential, but I really think they're going to have to go to that with Hollywood, Verse, and Monster Zero out there at the same time and really stand them up and if they want to be aggressive, that's the way they're going to have to do it, because the other way they are just getting nowhere. And it's really hurting the Rams defense because there's way too much time. I mean, regardless of the scheme, which I think is trash to begin with, but the D-backs, the D-backs they're at the mercy of the quarterback. They're at the mercy of the quarterback.
Yeah, man.
Let me try to put a little bit of positive spin on it. That's my role here. Okay, so we're 1-3. We lost to the Lions in overtime. Got hammered by the Cardinals, embarrassing. We pulled off this incredible win against the 49ers, and then we kind of lay a dud in Chicago. And I would propose that if we don't turn the ball over at our own 16-yard line, our defense might have played well enough to actually pull out a win there. I mean, it was actually a close game. We gave away 7 points and then just really sucked in the red zone. So, it's not a good position to be in, but hey, if we can get to 2-3 at the bye, I mean, it's possible, right? If we can get to 2-3 at the bye with all the injuries and what this team's been through, a really young team, I'm just saying I'm not giving up hope on this team quite yet, as challenging as it may seem at this point. You got some more stuff you want to share, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, just in that vein of that subject matter, I mean, so we'll do recent history first. Shout out to Sarah Barshop here. Since the NFL went to a 17-game schedule back in 2021, not that long ago. Shout out to the Super Bowl champion here. That was fun. There have been 25 teams, to start 1-3. Only 3 of those teams have made the playoffs. 2021 Steelers got annihilated in round 1. 2021 Patriots got annihilated in round 1. 2021 Eagles got annihilated in round 1. So history's not on our side for the recent history. So there's that. Okay. And then shout out to Blaine here, who is does good stuff for Turf Show Times and is a Rams media member here. Only 42 teams that began 1-3 have made the playoffs since 1970, when the AFL and NFL merged together a long time ago. Season isn't over, but need a lot of urgency next week against the Packers. If they fall to 1-4, might be too big of a hole to climb out of. And he's absolutely right. So based off those two stats, that Blaine provided, Sarah provided, it's not over, but history is not on our side.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There is, but I mean, a lot of wholesale changes need to happen. And we just highlighted a majority of this reaction here that things are just a mess. And a lot of things need to change for that even to be a possibility of turning this thing to a winning season and then even just getting into the playoff tournament. But man, oh man, oh man. And one more thing here. We'll share this one from Roberto Clemente, Twitter X user who is a Rams fan who does a lot of good graphics and is an unofficial media member, in my opinion. McVay area.
Oh, we lost Ian.
But that's a very telling stat that he was showing. What he was showing Ram Nation was over the last 3 years, the first couple of weeks, the scoring totals have been very, very similar. So I don't think that's attributed to just all 3 years the Rams having the same set of injuries, right? They had injuries that 22 season, 23 season they were a young team, and then obviously we have our injuries this year. I think what it's really saying is that the league has adapted somewhat to McVay, and that McVay needs to realize that McVay needs to change things up a little bit, right? That's the way I look at that stat, right? When it shows that scoring for the last 3 years are pretty similar. Power Eye, you back?
Paul picked it up for you.
There you go. All right, Power Eye, go ahead.
I don't know if he can hear us. Can you hear us, Ian? Every time I see
again, so there was like a power surge in my place here.
You okay now?
No, I said I had a power surge here at my place. So yeah, I think I am. I'm back, but that was a power surge. I was like, "What is happening right now?" And then
I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to go off on a quick tangent, like I do every episode. Every time I see Roberto Clemente, my all-time starting 9. Willie Mays in center, Roberto Clemente in right. I'll just say that right now.
You imagine?
Yeah. So underrated. What would you have? What were you going to say, Ian?
Anyway, maybe the Rams they hear us talking bad about them, so they shut off my power for a second. They're like, "Don't share that stat." But
Kroenke was like, "Shut him down."
Yeah, probably. They're like, "We know where that guy's at out there in LA," but. Anyway, this season is equally as bad scoring through 4 weeks as the disaster 2022 season. So we're on a dark path offensively, and we'll see what happens. But got to run the ball, got to be more disciplined with the run game. The same stuff we talk about. Run more formation variety. Don't just keep it 11. And defense has got to just have serious schematic changes. But we'll see. We'll see. Today sucks, but I did expect it, unfortunately, just based on just all the factors we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I think sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I think that's the key point. I think Ram Nation. It's obviously the Rams started out, what was it, 3-6 last year, still and then went on a run. They went on an absolute tear, right? And they made the playoffs, right, with a less than stellar record. And the new setup. Right, you can have like a less than stellar record and still make the playoffs. So, I think the core issue is that you can't keep giving games away. Eventually, you reach a point of no return. So this was a winnable game; they gave it away, right? We saw like a pattern developing with this season. Like that has to be corrected at some point. So here are the positives. The positives, number one, that stood out to me was Aaron Kyren was just. In my opinion, early on was just killing them, right? And they went away from the running game, particularly in the red zone, and that cost the Rams because their red zone efficiency rate is absolutely abysmal. That is what is killing the Rams in the first 4 games of the season. You can have a bad defense and still win games 35-31. That's okay. But their red zone efficiency is so low. Think about that. You need for every 1 touchdown, 7 points. That's 3 trips you need if you're kicking field goals. It's simple math. You can't win that way. Let's just say if it's 7 points, that's 3 trips in the red zone you will need to overcome that 7 points. So that's the major issue. So that's number one. Ronnie Rivers is giving quality reps when Aaron Kyren is not in there. We saw that today. That stretch zone, he did a great job getting that first down. He's picking up blitzes like an absolute beast. So the combination of those two, they have to start riding them. I will stand by this. Aaron Kyren needs to touch the ball 25 to 27 times a game. You have to ride him. We're not saying he can make it through the whole season if you do that. That's not what we're saying. But you're in a rough patch right now. You need to rely on your stars to win ball games. It's that simple. So that's number one. The physicality of the offense has to be highlighted. And that is why you have players that are not fighting for extra yards, because it's a very finesse offense right now. And Kyren Williams is getting frustrated because they pulled him out after that screen and they put Rivers in, obviously, to keep him fresh. You saw how he was on the sideline. That is the first time I've ever seen him show that kind of emotion. He was pissed. He's like, I just got into a rhythm. I just touched the ball 4 or 5 times in a row, and you're pulling me out. That substitution scenario, you have to be more astute than that as a coach. That is not, you're moving the ball. You got a red hot player and you're pulling him out. That makes no sense to me. That jumped out at me immediately.
Yeah, that Blake Corum, what a waste of a 3rd-round pick that was if he's not even going to get on the field. It doesn't make any
sense.
It's like all these deficiencies everywhere. It's like, what was the point of that? I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't know anything what's going on at practice and all that, but for him to be a part of the crew that did not participate in preseason because it's like we have big plans for him, McVay talked about that. Well, look, where are those plans? Where are those plans? He needs to get action to help this football team somehow, man. It's one of those seasons. It's just
another positive. You have a cohesive O-line now, right? You're not utilizing. You waited so long to finally get 5 guys out there that can play consistently. I mean, Logan Bruss at the end of the game, he just got murdered on that spin move. He almost got Stafford killed, right? And Dotson gave up a bad sack today. But other than that, if they would just run behind these guys between Limmer, Dotson, and Big Rob, I'm telling you, it would be like a 2-to-1 ratio of time of possession. They would not be able to get these guys off the field, right? On defense, Lake is just playing lights out. I mean, he's a real bright spot. They're getting some semblance of pass rush from their outside linebackers. Offense, Jay Witt looked good today. I mean, he looks smooth. Definitely looks like, if they had to roll with him instead of Tyler Johnson, so be it. And I got to say, if Tyler Johnson's in the doghouse, I think it's about time. They got a lot of guys walking around out there. I don't understand how Bobby Brown is still in the lineup. He's so bad they don't even put him at nose anymore. They put him on the end. That's how bad he is, and he's still getting rocked. So, I mean, at this point of the season, I think it's a great message to send to the team. Say, listen, man, if you're not cutting it, you're coming out.
Yeah,
you got to wake these guys up.
I'll be interested in seeing Bobby Brown's snap counts because I saw Gallimore and Tyler Davis out there a lot. And, hey, to get back to the red zone deficiencies, maybe this is related, but week 4, 3 different Rams have scored. Joshua Carty, Kyren Williams, and Cooper Kupp. Nobody else has found the end zone or put points on the board. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but interesting though. So it gets back to the quorum thing. Yeah, I totally agree. I see him standing there on the sideline, and I was like, why isn't he getting any snaps at all? And not to take anything away from Ronnie Rivers because I think he has played well.
He really has.
Yeah.
But even if that's the case, I mean, so that's if you're telling me I'm the wrong guy to ask because if you told me you have 3 NFL running backs ready to roll, I mean, we're never throwing the ball. We're like running the ball all game long, right? But that's just me. But you're going into and let's talk about Green Bay for a second. So they got to salvage the season, right? Go into that bye. So I'm going to go on record. I don't care if Cooper Kupp is doing somersaults in the locker room on Wednesday. Do not put him in that Green Bay game because they said the cast came off. Everybody's like, oh, he's looking good. Give him that extra 2 weeks so when he comes back, the probability of him not re-injuring himself is going to be much higher. If you put him into that Green Bay game, and this is just my opinion, the way the Rams are playing, it is so chaotic out there, he's going to get hurt again. He's going to get hurt again.
Yeah,
I hate
probably.
to say, I don't want to jinx it, but he's going to get hurt again. You got to leave him out. You got to like put it in the holster for now. And when we come back off the bye, if he's ready to go, then definitely use him. But I think I saw some of the media reports. Holy cow, that is such a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think Glazer reported that he'll miss at least the next couple weeks. That's the right move. I mean, Cooper, I think, is reported to miss another 4 weeks. We kind of knew that. We had a feeling it would be half the season with him. So
they said week 7, week 8.
Yeah, I mean, we were ready for that. We braced ourselves for that. That's nothing, I guess, shocking to me. But yeah, man, it's just it's just the same.
But the idea is not to panic. That's the whole idea. The idea is not.
Yeah, and the Rams schedule is still tough. It's still a tough schedule. You know, what we have after the Packers, we get the Raiders at home, a Thursday night game against the Vikings at home. Then we travel to Seattle. We get the Dolphins, and with the Rams' luck, that'll be Tua's first game back, if he comes back at all. Yeah. And then we have the Eagles and the Saints and the Bills. So, tough haul.
Yeah, it's just nothing gets easier, but they have to just figure out a way to have better game plans. It's really that simple, ain't it? So, Rams Nation.
So we'll come back Wednesday night and we'll talk a little bit more about the deficiencies that we saw and maybe try to highlight some signs of hope and talk about this Packers game. Good stuff, though. Depressing Sunday. I kind of felt it, building. I just got a crummier and crummier feel for this game as it went on. Giving up opportunities, missing out opportunities, and then it kind of all fell apart there, starting with that sack and fumble. But hey, thanks for joining, guys. And if you listeners and viewers weren't aware, we have moved the round table to Wednesday night. It just works out better, makes more sense. But any final words, Paul?
Hey, it's not over till it's over. They still got plenty of fight left in them. They just got to get themselves organized. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, Ian.
Just run the damn ball.
Run the rock. Come on. Let's just run the ball, man. Let's just go one game and run the ball, man.
Hey, viewers are going to watch this and they're going to say, wait, am I watching last week's quick reaction or which week is this?
It's just so simple. That's how we were going to win ball games. And we did it last week against a good defense. Should have done it this week. We probably win this game. Going to be the same thing against Packers. Run the damn ball, help out your team, help out your offense, help out your defense, help out your special teams, and that's just that simple. We do that.
And learn a lesson from the whole Tua situation. If you want Stafford to survive the season, you can't keep throwing him to the wolves like you did today. That's on the Rams coaching staff. That's unfair what they did to Stafford today, right? They keep throwing him to the wolves game after game after game. Look what happened to Tua. You can't keep abusing quarterbacks like that. I mean, a mark of a good coach is knowing how to protect their quarterback. And major F today that staff spent as much time as he did on his back. I mean, it was horrible to watch him take hit after hit. Unacceptable.
Yeah, got to improve in that department for sure. Okay, guys, we'll sign off. Let's do this. We'll meet up again Wednesday night if you guys are free, and maybe we'll feel a little bit. Maybe we'll have recovered and be looking forward to this Packers game with rosier glasses. We can only hope. Okay, guys, out here. Thanks a lot.